Welcome to the What I Meant to Say podcast. I'm your host, Wendy Jones, and I started these conversations because life doesn't give us do-overs. So this is a space where we get a chance to reflect and tell our story again, with more grace for ourselves, and hopefully make us all better for having listened. On this episode of What I Meant to Say, I talked with Christian Honer about his journey to become a professional beach volleyball player and what it helped him discover about himself and his faith. His experiences on the sand courts in Arizona to the jiu-jitsu mat will inspire you to be the best version of yourself. Thanks for listening and hope you enjoy. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you saying yes.
For sure. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited. Yeah.
Yeah. And I could tell we've never met, but I could tell from your Instagram story. And I think I did see you play last year in New Orleans, which is why I was asking you if you're going back. But you were there.
Gotcha.
Last year, right?
I actually did not go to New Orleans. No,
I know. I've seen you play somewhere before.
Yeah, you probably have. You've been very familiar. And I think
was it Atlantic City?
I played against Atlantic City.
Oh, there you go.
And that probably was it. Yep, that was the one tournament I played in last year. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So I could tell from your Instagram story and the way you played that, there was a story behind the volleyball. And I am much more interested, as much as I love the game and I love to watch the game and play the game. I'm so interested in the story behind the athlete. And Beautiful. So I thank you for being here today and being willing to share your story. So, I just want to get a little feeling for how you came into volleyball, where you started out.
Totally.
Let's just take it away from there.
Love that. That's awesome. Yeah. Cause there's so many things that we see these athletes perform and we don't know how they got to where they got to. And it's like, man, I want to know that. And so that's such a cool niche for you, because I think the world needs to see that more of where athletes came from. And so they can be a little more invested in the athlete too, because that goes a long way. That's really neat. That's really cool.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, and I so much of, everything we teach, I feel like comes from our own story. And mine started in 1989 when the AVP came to Fresno, and there was no beach volleyball in Fresno. I'd never seen it before. And all of a sudden there were these courts out by the San Joaquin River. And by Sunday we had 25,000 people around center court watching Smith and Stoklos and Hovland and Dodd. And it changed my life. And
that's so cool. You got to see it in that day too.
Yeah.
Because I always am like, man, can I go back and see what it was like? Because everybody talks about it, but I wasn't there.
Yeah. And they ran a clinic for juniors, and you came off the court and you had played with these guys and you felt different. And it was the first time that I'd been around people that I was like, these are champions. And I really had never felt that before. And I think it's a real game changer. Whether you're an athlete, I mean, that's where I identify the most, that's kind of where my skill set came out. But
totally.
But, whether you're on the stage, I have a kid who loves theater, cool. If you're surfing, if you're, whatever it is that you do helps you create that purpose and that quest to be better.
Amen.
That's what I'm after. So
love that.
Yeah.
Be better. We can be better in our physical, our mental, our spiritual, our athletics, our business, all those things. If we just add little routines or little things over time, makes a big difference. So I love that. I was kind of looking over and listening to some of your podcasts that you've done in the past. And I just love that phrase, be better. We can all be better. We can all make athletics better. We can all be better as a human. We can all be better for others. That's really neat that you found that. That's cool.
It's additive, right? So, I mean, as you take it from an athletic perspective, but I know part of your journey, you've told me being so much more, how you want to identify as being more than an athlete, and what, how that can also create an identity crisis if you don't know how to do that. So
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your journey in that regard.
Yeah. So my start really with volleyball, I played a bunch of sports. I was homeschooled my whole life.
Oh, cool.
I played a bunch of sports growing up. I played baseball, basketball, golf, all the way throughout high school. In my junior year of high school, at Park Day at PE, our physical education as a homeschooler, we would do that every week. And we played volleyball for the first time in I think since I was really young. And I was like, oh my gosh, this sport is amazing. This sport cannot be just for women. I was just seeing some guys hit the ball. I'm like, there's no way. So I start researching and watching some YouTubes and things and just kind of do my own little research. And I find Ty Trambly, I find Sean Rosenthal, and I'm just oh my gosh, these guys are like the real deal. Cause I've always just thought volleyball is for girls and it's a girl sport. And that's all I've really seen it as. And so my first actual like tournament I played in. So for a couple months there, after like researching and whatever, I would just show up to random parks and just like with my bike and be like, I hope I can play with these guys, like whatever. Like that was literally where I started. Cause I was this homeschool kid. I was just like, kind of like growing up in a Christian family. And so I kind of just put myself out there. I'm like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to hope that people ask me to play, or I'm going to ask to play or whatever. And so that's kind of how I started playing volleyball. And then I signed up for Arizona. Actually had really good volleyball players for the last the last couple of years. It started to grow again, but there were some really good players here for a while when I kind of started, which was like 9 years ago or so. And I signed up for an open tournament when I don't know anything about volleyball, like barely. Awesome. I don't know anything about the handset rules, but I'm thinking this is an open gym. So I was like, I'm going to show up. This is an open gym. And I'm like, let's do this. Like, I'm fired up. Like, and I show up and these guys like are just doing their hitting lines. And I'm with my partner. We're just like, where are we right now? Like these guys are hitting balls down and like, we're just like new to this whole thing. And, I remember every game we played pool. It was like pool play in the first tournament. And I think the most points we got was 3 points in a game. And we were just like, we're happy to be here. Like we're learning, like whatever. Like it was, I just remember that experience so vividly because so many of these older school volleyball players come up to me and they're like, Christian, remember that tournament that you played in, that open gym that you thought it was? And so that's kind of really where I started with my journey there. And then I kind of like started to train with these guys. They were really awesome. And they're like, man, you're terrible, but you could be decent. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. So they invited me out and I would drive about an hour and a half, like once, twice a week to go and train with like the open guys here in Arizona. And they were super awesome, like super welcoming, which is great because at that time I didn't know anything really at all, like passing, setting, hitting, serving, like nothing really. So a lot of the guys were very kind in that way to kind of just welcome me into that. And that's kind of like the first experience I had with the volleyball community. I'm like, man, like I'm this guy. I've played so many other sports and I'm terrible at this sport and they're letting me play with them and train with them, even though they're like the highest level here. I was just like, I was very thankful for that. So that's really where my volleyball journey started, which is kind of funny. The whole open gym thing that I thought it was, but open, when most people think open gym, but it's like open's the best beach volleyball, like the highest level other than like AVPs and pros, but right. it was a funny experience to get started with. That is for sure.
That's awesome. But to take that and give you a dose of humility right out the gate. And it actually reminds me of where my son started. When you throw him out there and you're like, oh, well, there's no 12s division, so you might as well get out there with the 14s, and then you're just just getting pounded. So
just demolished. Yeah. But that's how we learn. Honestly, the if I can be the worst in the room, whatever it is, I'm like, put me there. Like I'm okay with that. Like starting fresh and being someone that's like, all right, like I have nothing to lose. This is the worst I'm going to be. I only have like an upward trajectory from this point. So it's like, it's hard to put yourself in those uncomfortable situations, but I've realized it is the best thing I've ever done. I think in the beginning that, and then I've sought other ways to find that similar, like, yeah, all these people are way better than me. And I'm just here and I'm just learning and growing and just figuring it out because they've done it. They've put more time, effort, energy into it. And so, yeah, it's just, that's really cool. Yeah. Just put them in the 16s. They're 12. Go for it. Go see what it takes.
Totally. And I mean, in sports psychology, I think they call that beginner's mind. And it's just like, go out there and know that there's always something new and that you don't know what you think you know. And there's always more to learn. Right. So, And that perspective is such a game changer because like in the age of social media, the highlight reel is what we all worship, right? We all love the videos with the cool music and the guy crushing and the best rally. Everything's just perfect. And it's beautiful. I mean, from if you can really, I have such an appreciation of athleticism that I love to watch that stuff, but I think it's really hard on kids. I mean, I have 4 of them and the youngest one doesn't remember the older ones not being good at something. So like think about starting out and going into a a sport and going, well, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, they didn't used to be able to do that. You know how many hours went into that? And not that you have to put hours into the same thing, but whatever that thing is, you know, you're going to have to put the hours in. Like you don't come out on the highlight reel. And I don't think that we get that message enough, especially to juniors players these days. I think everyone expects to be good out the gate, and it's not reality.
It's not the case. No, you're going to have to embrace the suck in the beginning. Like I started doing jiu-jitsu like 6 months ago, and oh my gosh, like the first couple months, all I was doing was suffering and just hating my life and trying to show up, because I was like, these guys have been doing it for 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, and I don't know the first thing. I don't know anything about wrestling or anything. And it's just like, yeah, it's tough. But if people can embrace that, like it's such a powerful place to be, is like the beginning of something. Like it's just fun, because there's just endless things to learn and endless things to grow from, and it's just endless at that point. But it does suck. It does suck. Like physically, specifically with like jiu-jitsu, like mentally, a lot of things are just like, oh, I don't want to look bad or whatever. But like with jiu-jitsu, it's like, you're like, you can't breathe. Like it's like, this is terrible.
How are your toes doing?
Oh yeah. I have to wear my toe spacers, and I have to roll out my feet a lot. But my ankles and toes are starting to become very strong, because I really have to like, it's almost, they're just calloused all the time, just beat up and bruised. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But that's another thing we can probably talk about a little bit later.
Well, that's funny, because I think the other reason I connected with you is through Shawn Ledig. I think I saw you, and Shawn's really into. He's gone from volleyball to being really into jiu-jitsu.
He's doing so awesome. It's so cool to see him excel in that, because he excels in whatever he does. He's just a freak athlete. He's great, and he just has such a warrior mindset. Like his mind is like, he's got a 12-pack in his mind. You know, like
so true. And boundless energy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I remember I met him, man, what was it? It was like NVL Long Beach. The last one that they had, that was like the World Series one.
Okay.
And I stayed with him, and I was just like, man, this guy is just like, he's got it together. Like because I think I saw so many other volleyball players that were struggling in their personal life and their financial life. And then when I saw this Shawn, I was like, man, this guy's got it all together. Like he's just playing this volleyball and having fun, and every other part of his life is like good, you know. But it's just like, I think, hard to find in this sport, because it's a hard sport to pursue. So I was like, really, when I met him, I was like, man, I really look up to this dude. He's done some really cool things, and just the way he holds himself and the way he pursues the things that he pursues is awesome. So that's really cool. I've been watching his journey from afar. I hope to roll with them sometime soon. That'll be a lot of fun.
I'm sure he would love that. I'm sure. Yeah. But and like, that's like a perfect story of what I truly believe works in this world is that, you know, I don't know what the age difference is between you guys, but I have friends and connect with generations from, you know, my kids' friends all the way up to people in their, you know, 70s and 80s. And I think like what we can share between the generations really allows everybody to grow and contribute so much. And so I love seeing that story, that like you have a specific story of being inspired by someone, you know, that's, you know, a generation older than you, and
absolutely,
you know, and what that adds to life, you know, and it keeps people going. It keeps those stories being told. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Those like mentors and those people that we look up to, and the accountability, that goes such a long way, because those people they've lived life and they've seen the things that it's like the shortcuts, like Jason was saying with the podcast, like he's done it. And it's like, all right, I can give you the plan here, because I've grinded through the hours. I've spent the time, I've spent the energy, I spent the money. This is the shortcut. You want the shortcut, or you want the long way?
Yeah, you know? Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So do you have siblings? You said you were homeschooled, Christian family. How big is your family?
Yeah. So there's 5 of us, or total. I have two younger brothers. I'm the oldest of 3. Okay. And we're all 3 years apart. My middle brother, his name's Aaron, and oh my gosh, this kid has the biggest heart ever. Like he just has such a giving heart, and he's like a living missionary. He has a YouTube channel called How To's by Bros. And they have like 250,000 subscribers, and they do like how to do backflips, how to do a wall flip, how to do like double backflips off a wall, how to do trampoline flip onto the roof, or like just crazy stuff, like just crazy. Like he's just so good at what he does. He's like dove headfirst into YouTube, and he just basically just teaches people how to do things. It started with him and the younger brother, because they're like how-tos by bros, and they both kind of did it together. But now he's kind of zoned into that. He sold off the part to my other brother because he's got other things going on, and then so he's dialed into that. But he's basically just a missionary, and he does some incredible things for the world, and he's grown his YouTube thing for so well. So he's an incredible kid. And then my youngest brother, he goes to school at California Baptist out there in Riverside, and he's a diver. So I'm hoping to see him in the Olympics. He did a Olympic training, I think, last year, and he missed it by a couple people or whatever. And then he also is a musician. So he just had like his first 2 singles on Spotify just go viral. And he's doing some really. He's got 2 songs on Spotify. His name's Evan Honer.
I'm gonna put that in the show notes, because I'm telling you my other thing. So sports and music, like I truly believe that the world can be so inspired by sports and music, and that's literally the way what's gotten me through some of my toughest days are those 2 things. And I used to think they were so unrelated, and now I believe nothing is unrelated at this point.
Yep. It all connects.
So it all connects. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool, because music has been a part of my life. I played the drums for 5 years at my church in like a church band, and then we would go to different schools and camps and play. And so music has been incredible. I keep telling my brother, I'm like, let me be the little background drummer in some of your music one of these days. And so yeah, that's cool, because man, I think the creativity that we can get from music and just even, I think now, especially with COVID, the way it's gone, I think people want to see musicians and athletes, because you can't like fake that, like politics and actors, they can fake all they want, and they will all day. But now people they're like, all right, this athlete is saying he's doing all this training, and then you see him not perform, and you're like, okay, he's not, fair enough. Or he is doing all this training, and he's saying on Instagram that he's doing all this, and then he performs. Oh, he's doing what he's saying he's going to do, kind of thing. And I think that's the same in the musician world. Is I think people like this whole Patreon and things, people are really valuing that part of musicians and athletes, because it's real and you can't fake it really. Like you can try, but you really can't. Like,
that's such a good point. There are no shortcuts. You're right.
Yeah.
And that creative process, there are no shortcuts in the creative process. And I think America is kind of yearning for long form storytelling. And that's where, when I got into this podcast thing, I get bored on Instagram, and I worry about the next generation going like this mindless scrolling of like, do you ever feel what your brain feels like after you've just like went through like 12 different topics, and what am I supposed to grab onto, and what did I just do that was productive, and really nothing. And
just consuming.
And it's not real deep connection. And I think we get that in these sports and music stories. At least that's where I feel my deepest sense of connection with the outside world. So, and I had no idea that you were a music guy too. So
yeah, I love it. I really I have my acoustic set, but I really need to get an electric set so I could actually play. Because when I was a kid, I remember just bonging. My neighbors were probably like, "Get this kid out of here!" Just hearing the drums all day long.
Yeah, my hat's off to your parents. I've never given any of my kids a drum set. So
my parents were like, "You have to learn piano first for like 2-3 years, and you have to learn that, and then you can go." I'm like, "All right, I'll put in the time."
Can you still play the piano?
Not really. I would love to get back to just reading music again, but probably if I gave myself a couple days, I probably could get back into it. But yeah, music is a beautiful thing. That's really cool.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing as everything else now. I've seen piano go from my kids all took lessons, I took lessons, and you go from that to the YouTube game, where my son, when he got really into volleyball and he didn't have time to take lessons, he'd go on YouTube and he would learn different songs and just keep it alive. And I'm telling you, there's nothing better than a house with music in it. Like I think it's so amazing.
That's so cool. You're just walking around doing some dishes or cleaning or making some food, and you're just hearing your kids just jamming. That's probably such a just cerebral.
It is literally like awesome. There is no more perfect place. It's so cool. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I will always have a piano in my house for sure.
Heck yeah. Gots to. Yeah. It's a beautiful sound. It really is.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit more about your faith,
Yeah,
if you're open to talking about that.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
kind of been a journey for me, faith wise. Growing up, kind of my parents kind of pushed it on me for sure. And I think a lot of parents do. And I think that's why as kids grow older and they get into college and things and their spirituality kind of becomes just like, oh, I'll just push that to side. I'll get to that later and kind of thing. And that was kind of my story, but I didn't really go to college. So my college experience was moving out to California, graduated college. So like when I started volleyball my junior year, I graduated my senior year, and then I moved out to California for the summers ever since then. So for the last like 6-7 years, and yeah, I just got thrown out there, and I didn't really have like my spiritual foundation. And so it kind of just went, it was kind of the same thing. It just kind of went off the walls. It was just something I wasn't focused on. I kind of got in to kind of, I mean, what college is, the party lifestyle. I would be like, oh, I'm going to go out and drink with some friends and practice tomorrow. So I'll just have a couple drinks, whatever. And so I kind of got more, I think I got rid of that faith, and I got kind of almost got not egocentric, but like almost just like focusing on myself more than like others and God and all these other things. I think I just got so caught up in like, I want this volleyball thing for me because I love this and I want to do this. And it was just like not a healthy place to be. So I kind of wrestled with that for a few years. And so I kind of had to go on my own journey with it. I was like, yeah, my parents taught me this, but I really want to know for my own self what is true to me and what I believe and who I want to be and all this. And so after realizing that and going through a couple of years of that, I just realized, you know what, like the spirituality and the faith base is really what drives me in so many areas of my life. And I need that back in some way, shape, or form. Cause I know growing up, it was just a great addition to my life. Like whatever that looks like for people, if it's like Buddhism or Stoicism or whatever, or God for them, whatever that looks like, I think we all need that to know there's a power greater than ourselves that is in control and can kind of like guide us or whatever that looks like. So I did some experimenting on my own. I was like, I'm going to look into Buddhism. I'm going to look into some other religions. I'm going to look into Stoicism. I'm going to look in my Bible and just go into Proverbs and different things and start reading. And so I kind of found my way back to the Christian faith a couple years into volleyball. And that's kind of just driven, keep me grounded and keep my foundation strong and steady and something that I can really take root in, and kind of like the identity thing. It's like, okay, like if I just consider myself a child of God and someone who is bought with a price, like God created me, if I believe that and that's my identity, then the rest of my life can be whatever. And I can just play volleyball and I can do jiu-jitsu and I can do business and I can do these things. So it's kind of been like an experimental journey until I found my way back into the faith. So I kind of went off the rails a little bit for a couple of years, which I think is what happens when people go to college kind of thing. They're just like, oh, but for me, it was like, I was homeschooled, not super sheltered, but probably more than a lot of people going to public school. So going to this California thing, seeing all these people I look up to, drinking, smoking, doing these things, and just like, what is this world? And then so I kind of like not fall into it, but just like, it's just what you do. You know, you're like, these are my people. It's kind of, I'm just going to hang around with them and be around because I want to be like these people, you know, kind of thing. So that's kind of where it's led me. And now I'm all in on my faith, and God has helped me in so many really dark places that I've been. And he's just my foundation. Everything that I do to this day is all programmed from that. And it's funny, my mentor, his name's Scott, he lives up in Seattle, and he's just like, man, every time I come back to anything, it always comes back to faith for you. So for me, like my purpose and everything all really comes back to my faith. And like when I kind of found that again after experimenting, I think when I came back to that, people saw me as kind of an outsider and see you in a different light a little bit when they're like, oh, you're really all into that. I don't know if I want to be around that person because maybe they'll try to push me to be that or think the same way they think, kind of thing. So I think after I kind of came back to my faith, not that I felt like an outsider, but it felt like that to an extent, you know? So it was just like, oh, this guy might be judging me or this or that. And it's like, no, like unconditional love. We're all here trying to get better. And so I think that was just hard because growing up with it and then kind of getting rid of that and then coming back to it and then being pushed and being like, like feeling like an outsider. I'm like, man, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? But that was, I think, more of a temptation to be like, no, this is where you stand your ground and just be as the light that you can be, and be patient, and don't try to push anything on anyone, and just be in that place. So that's kind of been my journey all the way into now. It's kind of been, I mean, just like anything, there's a lot of peaks and valleys and whatnot, but
Yeah, I think a lot of times like that's the human experience with faith. You know, I mean, I think we are imperfect, right?
Oh,
And
completely. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
feeling of needing to be perfect is coming from our human weakness, not from God,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
Amen. Yep.
And I think that so often now, like, it gets painted as a, you know, I often say people confuse religion and faith, and religion can feel super heavy handed, and not that there's not a place for it, but you know, the way it gets painted in, you know, secular news is it's very judgmental. It's very, you know, black
Yep.
and white. It's very, you messed up or you did good. Whereas the human experience is like almost always like straight down the middle. Right. I
Yep.
mean,
Exactly.
we're messing up on one day and doing something awesome on the next. And
Yep.
and it's all within one human being. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
it like always amazes me. But one of the things I struggle with the most, because I'm a Christian too. And
Awesome.
but that feeling that there are so many, depending on what you have been exposed to in your life,
Yep.
there are so many different ways. And I love the fact that it's not up to me to figure out what's right. It's only up to
Amen.
me to figure out how to do my life and be better for myself and my family and my community. And
Amen.
there's so much
Absolutely.
freedom in that.
There is. No, that's huge. That's a beautiful thing. That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, and okay, so you said you came back, you haven't been playing much volleyball. So
Oh, I'm not.
besides jiu-jitsu, what have you been up to?
Yeah. So the last tournament like that I really felt prepared for was Manhattan 2019.
Okay.
Me and my partner played. We actually got a bid. It was the first time I ever played in a main draw without playing in the qualifier, because we won a U26 tournament, which was really cool. And so
Who was your partner?
Brian Miller.
Okay.
He's from he's from Seattle, and now he lives in San Diego.
Okay.
But we played the McKibbins first round. We beat them in 2, and then we played Jeremy K-Spear and Kame Shaw.
All right.
And my partner pulled his hamstring and was walking out on a crutch after that match, and he was like out for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's brutal.
So that was a really, really tough bummer to leave the 2019 season with, because that was probably my best year playing volleyball. Oh, there you go. That's awesome. Okay, I got it right. Okay, yeah.
You're like, my memory
Yeah,
didn't fail me.
So Brian Miller, right?
Seeing that.
Oh, look at, yeah. Oh my gosh. And a close one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a heck of a match right there.
it was a really good match, and it was exciting because I think they won Seattle like a week or 2 before then. Jeremy and Kane,
Oh,
like Jeremy was
wow.
on, like ace streak. He was just acing.
I was
people
gonna say, what's it like staring down that serve?
Gosh, it's unreal. He's got such a good serve. It's insane.
Yeah,
And then Kane too is ridiculous.
yeah,
So
no doubt.
that was like my last preparation for like actual tournament. Since then, I've had people ask me for tournaments, but I haven't really been focused on it because 2020, once COVID hit, then I was just like, I was planning on playing in that Long Beach event that they had, or the 3 events that they had in 2020, but we were like 2nd or 3rd on the list. So I was like, unless 3 people get COVID, we're not in, kind of thing. And so I was just like, all right, like, is this a sign for me to kind of maybe go back to some business stuff or go back into something else? So I kind of took a couple years off, and I would say my first like week of training was last week, actually, like getting back into volleyball, because I've been hooked on jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu has been got me. Like I've been doing it 4 days a week, and it's just like, I've never experienced such a cool, and maybe it's because I didn't experience college, because a lot of these athletes in AVP, they all played college, and like that environment must be just so cool to play volleyball with 6 of your best friends or 5 of your best friends. That must be so cool. So for me, the jiu-jitsu has been like, it's this brotherhood. We have this gym that's just like, it's like 7 or 8 dudes that are just like sick, and they're just sick fighters, and they've been doing it for a long time, and a couple girls and a couple new people. But the environment is just so cool, because it's like, it's the be better thing. It's like everybody wants everyone to be better, but they're also trying to choke each other out and kill each other. And it's like, that is like the most like incredible thing I've been able to experience, because it's like this trust that you have to have with each and every one of these people, not to break your arm or break your knee off or make you go to sleep or whatever. Like, you have to have this like serious trust in these people, especially being new into the sport. And so for me, just having this environment that everyone wants to be better, like I get choked out 7 times in a 5-minute round. And this guy's like, oh, hey, you should not do that. And you should do this. And you should do, you know, like, it's like, oh, this sucks. I'm like dead. And then he's just like, oh, you should do this and you should do this, like all nice and kind. And like, as he's like, it's just something I've never experienced. So that's been majority of what I've been doing. And then I've also been doing golf. My roommate, he plays golf professionally. And so I got to caddy for him at a couple events, which was really cool to see golf at a high level and what a sport like that looks like, which was really cool. And so I've been going to the range like once, twice a week for myself, because I played golf in high school. So I've been doing that to keep my golf game up, because it's a great way to network. And I think it'd be really cool to play with some of the older school players in golf, because I know they love golf. And so, yeah, kind of coming back to the sport has reminded me, after doing those couple sports, is like, man, when I was a kid, I had seasons for different sports. You know, I was like, throughout the year, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna play baseball for these 3 months. And I was just like all in on baseball. And then after the year, I was like kind of burnt out on baseball. Basketball's up. Let's play basketball. And then football or like whatever. And like as I've been doing this and like kind of trying to get volleyball back into my routine and get back into it, I'm like, man, I really think I'm going to need these sports, because for me, it's easy for me to get burnt out with things and stuff. And so for me, I think it's going to be really healthy for me to be like, back to being like a kid. All right, let me just like get my 1 day of range a week, 2 days a week of jiu-jitsu, have that like fun environment, like a couple days of training, drills and games and stuff. So I'm kind of that's a little forward than we got, but that's kind of where I'm at with sports, is like trying to make it more fun and more organic and just like more variable. Because for me, if I'm like doing the same thing over and over, it's kind of hard for me to do that.
That sense of burnout is real. And it's also, I mean, the injuries that you can sustain. So doing all of those things for cross training, but obviously, you know, you're an athlete at heart and in your mind. And so it's those places, that's where we learn those lessons, right? And that's where we connect with our people. And I've done that, like master swimming was a thing for me. And I had that same feeling. I mean, my hat's off to you on the physical contact, because as a swimmer and volleyball player, I've always been like, just keep your distance. Like
for sure.
But there is that camaraderie and the lessons that you learn and the toughness that goes with leveling up, and the toughness coming from people who love you. Like, I think that's also such an amazing lesson to be able to learn and then also give, is that love doesn't always look like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know, let up. Don't know. It's all right. Like, stuff hurts.
Like tough love. Yeah,
tough love is a thing.
Yep.
And it's not abusive. And there are stories out there that, you know, I am amazed at. There is a dark side to that, but real tough love, the stuff you're describing that you feel on the mat, that I've felt, you know, racing to the wall when someone's like, why'd you freaking breathe? Like, don't, you know, go.
Yep.
And I remember taking my son to his first swim practice and saying, like, by the way, it's going to hurt.
Yep,
like,
exactly.
So when it hurts, like, keep going. You're going to be okay. You will, like, I'm watching you. You're going to be fine. But
absolutely,
you know, it's a real thing. And I think that's something else that between coaches, parents, and athletes these days, there's a rub there right now.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this chat as much as I am. For more inspiring conversations, go to BeBetterWithWendyJones.com.
Swimming is awesome. I do some cross training with swimming, and man, it's so difficult. So cheers to you to doing that.
I'm coming off an ankle surgery. I'm going to be able to get back in the pool before I can get in the sand, and it's going to be so painful. There is nothing like swim shape. Like when you're in swim shape, you can do anything.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah, just once a week for me is perfect. But it also really like puts my body together. Like if I'm having like a tough training week and I've lifted a ton and I've jumped a ton, then I'm like, I just need to hop in the pool and just swim it out. And I feel like everything just gets put, like my posture gets better. Like everything gets so much better, even though it's like so tough, but I'm like, I need to do it once a week at least for like active recovery, because it's beautiful.
Yeah, totally. I love, well, you're hitting on something else I'm super passionate about, which is recovery, and like that, the mindset as an athlete. I think it's come a long way in the last, 5-10 years. Cause I know when I was coming up in sports, recovery was not a thing.
It's just like grind, just work harder than everyone else. And then everybody gets injured and it's like, okay, what are we doing here?
And you get back to that sense of burnout that you're describing, and, all of those things. Is there anything that you've embraced in that arena as far as recovery, whether for your mind, body, spirit?
Absolutely. I am all in on recovery. Recovery has been a huge part of my volleyball and a bunch of different things. My probably current favorite way to recover is probably an hour and a half, 2-hour float spa, or like a self-deprivation tank. So my parents have a membership there and I've got a membership there. We go at least every other week or so. And it's like, oh my gosh, that Epsom salt in there, and just like that place to be like just with yourself and with your thoughts. And like, I think they say it's like the only other time that we've got that same space is in the womb. And so it's just like being just completely away from everything. And it almost feels like I get a massage like as I'm in this float, like just because my body's just rejuvenating with magnesium and it's just filling it up because there's just so much in there. And so recovery. I am a nerd when it comes to recovery. I've got my right over there. I've got a breathing ball for my core to roll out with. I've got a spiky foam roller. I've got a golf ball for my foot. I've got a lacrosse ball for everything else. And it's just, it's fun. And a lady I've worked with, Cynthia, she's on Instagram, Center of Movement Fluency.
Oh yeah, I know Cynthia. Yeah, she's amazing.
Incredible. She's helped me so much with recovery and with breathing and with all that. And she's, oh my gosh, she is a healer. Like if there is a one way to describe that woman, she is a healer, and she's so incredible. She's helped me so many ways, especially with my mind, body, and recovery, and just how to see that and how that looks, and little tools and tips and tricks and things. And she's incredible. So most of the knowledge that I've gotten from her has been amazing. And then just following other Instagram pages and things, and just trying stuff. And I got, I don't know if you've heard of the Huberman Lab.
Oh my gosh, love the Huberman Lab.
Awesome.
Sure.
Yeah, he's great. So
he
advised to get this, the cool mitts. Have you seen the cool, or like the palming technique stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Tell us about it.
I ordered that cool mitts thing. I got the cool mitts. I got to start using them because it sounds like incredible, especially for beach volleyball in the heat, like to be able to use those things.
No,
so yeah, that's
they use them. I think that's what they use them on the Stanford bench.
Do they really?
Yes. And I was like, because I'll sit there at the game and I look down and I see like, what are they putting? Like what kind of, they have some tech that goes on the shoulder, but the cool mitts, I'm telling you, they think I'm crazy, but I'm like, you guys, you put those on, you go back in, you always get a block. Always. Whoever has that on gets a block. Straight down. I'm like, and they're like, oh my gosh, because I'm such a sucker for, maybe I could be the placebo effect. Like I just am so big on all of that stuff.
That's awesome. I'm the same way. I got my Oura ring too, just like everything. Yeah. Ding. That's awesome.
Yep. And yeah, my daughter and I, we compare our Oura ring scores most mornings from California to Texas. So
love that.
But you know really what? Cool. It like the younger that you can learn this stuff, the better you start taking care of your body. Especially as much as kids play now, because we didn't used to play. Like in my generation, I definitely didn't play as much as what my kids have played to get to the levels where they are. Like it takes its toll, mind and body, and spirit. So it's like that recovery piece is so huge.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's so hard. Like for me growing up, I did nothing for like even playing any other sports. Nobody taught me how to take care of my body. Nobody taught, like I played baseball and they made me throw 80 pitches at a night. And I would be like, my shoulder would hurt for the next 2 days. And I'm like, this is terrible. Like, why am I putting myself through this? I didn't know at that time. Now thinking through, I'm like, man. But yeah, it's hard because not many coaches or anyone talks about, it's just like playing, drill. And it's like, there's so much more to that, especially with the athlete mental health stuff, the recovery stuff, just taking care of our mind, body is so important. And like you say, with the placebo thing, like my girlfriend always is just like, you're trying like 20 different things. How do you know that works? And I'm like, I'm trying it all and it's all working. What are you talking about? So
that's right.
I feel that so much. But I probably when I turned like 22, 23, I finally was like, all right, my knee hurts and my shoulder hurts. And I'm 22, 23. This is like not good. And so I had to really just like start doing my own research and just learn really about it. My buddy, Brandon Talbot, I don't know if you've ever heard of Brandon. He played professional beach volleyball for a couple years. And then I think he did bobsledding, and then he did jiu-jitsu. And then he got like the highest, he was like Guinness Book World Records for the highest single leg box jump.
Oh my gosh.
Him and I created a program called Volleyvert. And it's like a vertical training program for volleyball players specifically, because this guy he just knows the body inside and out so well. And so once we did that, he taught me about like the myofascial, like smashing with a lacrosse ball. Yep. And it's just like, oh, it hurts so good. It's like, oh, and you just feel so much better after that. So I had to, once I turned 22, 23, I was like, man, if I'm really going to try to do this volleyball thing for the long term, and I know health is wealth, like I really need to at least like start adding some things to my routine, which has probably become more of an obsession of just stacking things. But I mean, that's who I am. And I love experimenting with things and trying new recovery tools and techniques. And like, even I have my blue light glasses and I have all these, like I have a nose strip that I wear before bed and a mouth strip over my mouth. And I practice my routines before sleeping and trying to see how when I eat affects it and all these different things. So I am an absolute nerd when it comes down to recovery. So I'm glad we can connect on that level, because that's awesome.
Yeah. And and the thing that unites my mind on recovery is like, it all comes back to the nervous system.
Yep. Amen.
And I never knew that. And I was always kind of a pretty keyed up person. And I didn't know that my nervous system was running pretty high and that my window of tolerance was not very wide, and it was easy to kind of send me over. Yep. And the more my youngest son he's on the autism spectrum. And when I started learning what I could do to help his day and to try to make his day a little bit easier on him. And he's 15 now, and the progress, like what he does now, but he's a surfer, he's a skater.
That's so cool.
Like, you learn what I started learning helps professional athletes, helps all of us, because and that's another place where that a little bit better, 1% better. You hear that? You have a little better every day. That it makes a difference for everybody. And it's the little things that we do that affect our nervous system, whether it's, the breathing or yoga, active recovery, all of these things that widen that window of tolerance they're game changers.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so cool. That it's just like kind of so many people talk about like rehab and stuff, like in PT and different things. And it's like, even I have a friend who has a gym for people that have autism and different things like that. And a lot of those things, like you said, like could be prehab to help us so that our recovery, we don't have to face those injuries in the future. Yeah. So like I always try to think prehab. I do not want to get injured, and I'm going to take care of my body so that I have like you say, all those little things like taking 10 deep breaths before you go train or doing your yoga and make sure you get your stretch in every day, or your myofascial release or whatever. Just it really goes a long way. It really does. Yeah. And that's cool that you can see it from that perspective of him and how he's grown and how he's just like crushing it. That's so cool. You can apply those little things, because it's all the details matter. It really do.
Yeah. And we're all so much more alike than we are different, and everybody's looking to be a high performer. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you can figure out those ways, help people see where they can be there at their best and perform at their best, and then help them figure out a way to get there. I mean, the world just becomes infinitely better on so many levels, because everybody's living out what their mission is. And then that all comes together and creates something bigger and brighter and better for everybody.
Amen.
So,
amen. That's really neat.
That's really my vision behind telling these stories. And I think the cool thing about the podcast world is that they're not the stories that we're hearing on the news every day. I don't know how much your TV is on, but my TV at my house, unless there's a sporting event, it's not on very much.
Yeah, no, same. My mom chucked out the TV when I was a kid, and there's no chance. So the TV is like out of this world for me. No, I will not spend any time on that thing. Yeah.
And then you walk around in the world, and the things that I see every day and the people I meet are so much different than what I would see if I turned on the news and watched it for an hour. Yep. And I don't want to be part of that. And so I really want Be Better to be about telling the stories that aren't on the news, because they're so much more engaging. And there's so many amazing people out there doing what they're good at and finding out what they're good at and helping other people do the same. That's where we connect. So
that's so true. That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, all of us, we all have something in us that we just love and we just want to be the best at. And if we can just, it's the all ships rise thing. It's like so many people want to be like, oh, like I'm going to do this over here on 2nd Street where nobody can see me doing this high line so they don't see. It's like, no, let's all get better and let's practice it together. Like, because we all have our things and they could be different, but I really think I love the saying all ships rise, because it's just, I think we all can be better if we all keep encouraging each other, give little tits and bits of tricks that we use, and it just keep on passing it on, because there's no new information out there. It's all out there. People know it. It's
so true. And there's a different messenger for everybody. So if I'm your messenger, if you're someone's messenger, you're not taking away anything from anyone.
Yep.
Right?
Abundance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. So
there's so much abundance in this world. It's insane.
And the freedom that you feel when you switch to that mindset and you stop looking at everybody as competition, or like I'm stealing your thunder or you're stealing mine. Like you just feel free, and you go out and you do what you're meant to do, and it connects with the right people, and and you just get to keep going. So
love that.
It's a game changer too. That abundance mindset is huge.
It really is. Yeah. I think most recently I learned it from The Science of Getting Rich from Wallace Wattles.
I've heard of it.
Like first step is all about just like changing into the abundance mindset rather than comparison or the competitive mindset. And now it's like the first step of riches or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be money. It could be whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so powerful to change that, because it's so easy to get caught up in like, oh, if they make this podcast and I make mine, then maybe not. Maybe
it's already been said. Or
exactly.
My mentor said something, and it's up on her Instagram. Her name's Emily Hightower, and she's with Shift Adapt. It's the breathing and resilience training, and they're amazing.
Cool.
But she says alchemy, not strategy.
I like that.
And I was like, oh. When she said it, I was like, oh, that's huge. I love it, because it's like the magic behind it. You stop overthinking and you just get to fall into that place where you just are yourself and you can just be. And that's where that alchemy comes in. And it's so cool.
Amen. That's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Jason's got some volleyball.
Huntington 2019.
So glad we're here today.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to be City Phonetics.
Wait, who's playing?
San Wannabes has a ton.
Sorry, it's Bruno and Marine, and I want to go back to the side out play. It was the first play.
Jason Debbie is here trying to compete with the San Wannabes podcast.
Listen, I can't.
We have 55,000.
I was gonna say there are more
1,000 viewers right now.
There are more of you, and you don't fight fair.
Yeah.
San Wannabes has a ton of more viewers than I do, but I
hear Jason there. I'm like, wait, is that live, Jason, or is that because I remember Jason was filming that match? Yeah.
It was the San Wannabes and me, and they're like, Jason's trying to compete with the San Wannabes. We have 55,000 followers, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so awesome. I said there's more of you and you don't fight fair, so of course. But that wasn't them hazing me. That was just them saying, hey, we're all in the same family, and Jason's competing against us, and he's got a ways to go. Like what I'm saying? Like friendly fire. They're not these guys. Sure. San Wannabes are awesome, Christian. They
are. They're great peeps. Absolutely, yeah. That's awesome. That oh man, 2019 AVP Huntington. That's a cool memory to see that.
So fun.
What was your coming out party? You've made the draw in the NVL. You've made the draw in the AVP. What would be your moment that you would say was like, all right, I leveled up and this is something I want to do for real? I know you did this for fun, and I know this is like a Ty Trambly Zen type thing. There's a healthy balance of you enjoy playing this, but was there a defining moment or in your beach career where you like, I can do this on a higher level than I thought I could, or is that something that you not thought about?
No, I definitely have. That's a great question.
Yeah,
I think adversity brought that more than anything. I think because I played with Ryan Meehan. 2018 was the first time I qualified in AVP. And Volleyball Magazine posted something that said, like, Christian tries to qualify in the AVP 28 times and does it his 29th time. And I'm like, thanks, guys. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, okay. Yeah, I tried. Come on, don't make it out to be that way.
Always the skeptic, yeah.
I was just like, come on, I've been trying, I've been grinding, I've been doing it. And so I had my first main draw in Chicago, which in the first game we were down 14-11 in the third set to like the first team that we played, and we somehow end up winning that game and then winning the next two, which probably shouldn't have happened. It was a God thing. I think that we qualified at that point, but I'll get to the point. And then I played with he got hurt, my guy Meehan got hurt, and then I picked up Logan, and we were playing a ton and then we played Huntington. We got qualified in Huntington, and then we didn't do well in Austin. And then we moved on. And then I took like 3 tournaments off. I was just like, man, I guess I don't have a partner. Like, this kind of sucks, which was probably a bad decision by me. I should have just kind of kept going. But I took a couple tournaments off, and then I reached out to Brian, and then we played in Hermosa, and we qualified like 3 or 4 tournaments after just taking a break. And I was just like, all right, if I can take like 3-4 tournaments off, I'm like, all right, I think I can make this happen. So I think that like adversity. Oh, there we go. Hermosa. Yeah, Austin.
I'm zoom in for people.
In Austin.
Healthy competition though. The Partains to get in, right?
Yep, Partains to get in. Yep, yep.
Beat Doc Vandermeer in the draw. Okay, and Logan, your ex-partner.
Yeah, exactly. That's the funny thing that we played a couple tournaments before then. Yeah, that's 2.5 months later. Wow. And then so I would say probably that was just the adversity, because I was just like, I don't know, it was a bad thing for me to kind of self-sulk, but after not being able to play with a partner that I wanted to play with, I was like, man, this sucks. Okay, should I go back to the drawing board? What should I do? And then coming back and finding someone, and then finding success with them in Hermosa and Manhattan, the next 2 tournaments. And then after that, he got hurt again, and then so I had to play with someone else in Chicago. I think just that whole journey of it was such highs and lows throughout that season. But I think once I was able to take a step back after Austin, not doing so well in Austin and not taking it to heart as much as I probably could have, and I did probably for a little while, but then coming back with a fresh slate and just being like, all right, I need to worry about what I can control. And so I was really just like, all right, let's just focus on me and the best that I can be. And then so Hermosa and Manhattan worked out well, because a lot of people were talking like, oh, where's Christian? He hasn't played in any tournaments. There's no way he's going to come back and like do anything. And then so being able to do that, I think, was just the adversity that I needed after not being able to play with a couple partners I want to play with. And then I was just like, all right, I got to figure this out. And so that would probably be the time where I was like, yeah, I can do this thing. I feel confident in the way I take care of my mind, body, spirit in order to play this beautiful game that we have. So that's a really awesome question, Jason. I appreciate you asking that. That's really cool.
And we can cut this part out if I'm like invading Wendy's podcast.
My creative mind is like, we need to like create these little like minute minutes, like the Jason, the takeaway from these conversations, because Jason's so good at breaking down the game, and I always love sitting with people. He has a real
let him nerd out.
Yeah, and I can take that in all day long. So Jason and I have connected on it, but he always gets these really good questions about, what it's like to actually be out there on that court. And what I hear you saying in that is just that ability to believe that you can win in so many different circumstances, even when you're down, like, I think that's a real shift in an athlete's mindset when they can believe when they're down, that, hey, we knew we were down, but we always felt like we were going to win. And I've heard a lot of winning teams, both doubles and, six man, say like, no, we knew we were down, but we never felt like we were going to lose.
Yeah, we were in control of this game. We're all good. Yeah,
and that exactly. and that is, knowing what you can control and then making those adjustments quickly to be able to do that. So it's fun to listen to Jason, because I've learned a lot about beach volleyball. We traveled together for 2 weeks last summer. So we did Atlantic City and New Orleans, and
that's so awesome. Yeah.
Well, Christian, it's really been 5 years of people like you that have made it inclusive, beach volleyball. I mean, look, there are cliques and there are good old boys clubs, and that comes with every sport. But sure. I moved here. Wendy tells you I moved here, a 20-year indoor coach, but I got to work with John Mayer, got to work with, the McCullochs, Ty Tremblay, who I compare you with a lot. And
that's so awesome.
And I'll shut up now, but I wanted to say it was really just it's a high volleyball IQ, but it derives from just the level of inclusiveness and everyone's willingness to help, man. And because of that, I've become a good coach. I've become a good commentator, and here we are, Christian.
And
Wendy Jones is the one. And Wendy Jones is the one just putting it all together, man. She's becoming the 6 degrees of separation, the Kevin Bacon of the sport, if you will.
Yeah. So no, funny. Jason, you really brought to light the qualifiers. You filming all those qualifier matches for so long and being involved and being there was so incredible for the sport. Like, you don't even realize how much impact you've had in that way. Maybe you probably do, but I really just respect you. And I think it's so cool what you've done, from coming from indoor and moving out there to Hermosa and getting into the scene and pushing that content out there, because the sport needs it. And so,
but that's all Wendy.
Appreciate you.
Wendy's kind of a be who you are type person or whatever. And some of these qualifier matches were so much fun. I actually did a top 5 qualifier matches the last 10 years. And I mean, you got like AVP champs, right? I think number 1 was Rafu and Kevin McCulloch against Kame Schalk and Reed Pretty. Right, and then you got Baranek and Prosser, right, who's on your podcast, right?
That's out this week.
That's out this week, right?
Oh, nice.
And against Matt, against Derek Olson and Lotman.
Yeah,
qualifier matches.
Amazing volleyball.
Right, you and Logan against the Partains. I mean,
it's such a beautiful game, and the thing is that the community extends so far out from the South Bay, and that's what I'm loving about what I'm doing, is seeing the way this sport grows is not where Jason and I are sitting. It's out there in the where I'm from, in the valley where I went last year. There's 6 volleyball courts out in the middle of the vineyards. They're teaching kids to play beach volleyball. There's Nashville Beach. There's Bulldog Beach down in Mississippi.
Missouri. There's all these different places
amazing,
that are just popping up.
Right? Yeah. And that's where the game grows. And so we don't do ourselves any favors by thinking that this is like, it all has to sit here in the South Bay or Southern California. You know what I mean? Because where I fell in love with the sport was on the San Joaquin River, and then we fell away from it for a long time, but it is coming back, and it attracts such beautiful people with amazing work ethics and strong character, and that want to be part of something bigger. And it's really just a place to tell a little bit more of the American story. And I think there's just so many people doing it that when you're interested in something, you just got to grab onto it and see where it goes.
Just ride the wave.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I think the question that prompts me the most in when I started this podcast, and I'm 47 years old with 4 kids, and there are so many things that I wish I had learned at a younger age.
For sure,
and so the name of my podcast, What I Meant to Say, comes from, dang, I wish I would have known that, and what I would have said, what I meant to
shoulda,
say.
Coulda, woulda.
But in doing that with a little, with grace for yourself, and not this like, dang it, I messed it up.
Hard
this
on yourself,
harsh regret, kind of like, oh, what I learned was. So to set that question up, like, if you could give some advice to a younger player or to your younger self, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a great question. I would say, I mean, I think it really comes down to focusing on what I can control, because so many times I've got so caught up in like my partner or this or the venue or this, or I think really, like, if a kid could grab hold of controlling what they can control and really put in some time and energy on the mental game, because that I think gave me a lot of my minute success that I've had, is just really taking the time to take care of my mind. Because I mean, what Yogi Berra and all these baseball players say it's 90%. I wouldn't say it's 90%. I mean, maybe with volleyball, it's more maybe 60-40, whatever. But if you say it's at least 40 to, if it's at least 50% of what the sport is, like we need to encourage and help athletes grab hold of that. Cause yeah, like you said, I think we get so caught up in the physical things. How much stronger can I get? How much harder can I lift? How much faster can I get? Yeah, that's all great. Like that's an athlete's mindset. We're going to do that till the day we die, no matter what we're doing. That's just like the way we're wired, I think. But I think for a lot of people, I think there's so many benefits to, like I said, the focus on what you can control, and then adding some mental training into your toolbox, whatever that looks like, because our mind and brain comes at like, we have $1 million minds. We all have $1 million minds, but we've gotten them given to us for free. And that's why we have no value on them. We don't put any value on it. We put value on our cars and our this and our that. And it's like, our brain is worth millions and millions of dollars if we were to take care of it the way that we know we're supposed to take care of it. So maybe this is a long answer for that question, but I would say for most people, I would say if I was a younger version of myself or encouraging any younger kids, I would just say, focus on what you can control and start meditating, start breathing, start doing affirmations, start changing the way you see yourself, you see others, your sport, your athletic career, and dive into that subconscious mind, because I just see so much. I've studied it for a while. I became a certified hypnotherapist like 2 years ago. So I really have been studying into hypnotherapy and how that stuff really gets into the subconscious mind, and just even affirmations and things like that. So I'm really, really intrigued by the mental side of things. I actually just got certified in another thing. This guy, Brian Kane, he helps MLB and UFC athletes with it's called Mental Performance Mastery, and it's like a coach's certification.
Sweet.
And so it's a really cool concept. So yeah, I would say mental training, control what you can control. And then I got to throw in John Wooden. I love John Wooden.
Oh gosh, absolutely.
The pyramid, because the pyramid of success has changed my life for the better in so many different ways. So that might be a lot of tips, but just if you're a younger athlete, just take one of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are 3 golden ones right there. And I always tell my kids what you focus on grows. So, look where you want to go, not where you don't. And
exactly.
It changes things.
Yep. Thoughts become feelings and feelings become actions. And it's real. It goes back to the Bible. Stoicism says that. Buddhism, like everyone says that. So it's like, and we have these amazing minds that are capable of so much. It's like, come on.
Yep. Well, I love it. So, where can people find you if they want to hear more about what you're doing? If there's anything that you're looking to grow? I love elevating other people's stories. So we'll put it in the show notes. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I appreciate that. They can find me on Instagram. I'm actually trying to start to push more content out there because I just need to step in and find my voice. And because I just have all this knowledge and things that I've learned, and it's like, I just can't get any more knowledge until I contribute and give to the world. So I'm like, this is what I need to do. So this is a good accountability thing for me. Like, go find me on Instagram. I'm gonna start posting again one of these days.
Yeah.
You can find me on my website. If you go to christianhoner.com, if you put in your email address, I'm going to start sending like weekly emails to encourage some people. So you can find me on my website, or you can find me on Instagram. And then I just started a TikTok as well. So all the social media channels would be awesome. And I'm trying to start to step into that as I step into volleyball again a little bit. And then hopefully I'll have a podcast as well. And I'll have to have you on mine as well.
Absolutely. Let's grow all this stuff together. I love it.
That's right.
It's good stuff. Yeah. You'll have to come on the option with Jason soon.
Absolutely. For sure. I love that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this today. And I hope you stay cool out there in that Arizona heat this summer.
Yeah, for sure. Got to have that AC on and all the fans going.
Yeah. If you get out to
California. Triple digits today, thank the Lord. It's only 99. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That you can do that. No problem.
That's right. I'm an Arizona boy, desert boy. I can handle it.
Yeah, I get it.
Stay on when the episode's over too, because I'm going to Arizona. I wanted to talk to you about that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Well, thank you so much for being here today. And we'll catch you if you come out to California. Let us know.
For sure. I actually, after this Sandia week, I'll probably be out there here and there for the next 2 weeks. So I'll definitely reach out. It'll be awesome.
All right, good deal. Thanks for joining us for the What I Meant to Say podcast. For more real conversations like this one, come on over to the Be Better community at www.bebetterwithwendyjones.com, a place for athletes and parents to grow and find meaning behind what we do every day so that we can be strong on our own and better together.